Okay, so now that we've talked about the important parts of ethical research, let's look at a couple kind of key findings or key milestones in psychology. And we'll think about whether they're actually ethical or not and how they might be improved. So, first one you may have heard of before is known as Milgram's obedience study. So what happens is people come in and they're told that they're randomly assigned to either the role of teacher and paired with a pretend learner who they believe to be another participant. And they were told something like this study is about um, physical harm and memory or electric shocks in memory or something like that. And the point is that I'll show you what it looks like. So every time the learner makes a mistake, the experimenters or the teacher gets a notice and they have to shock them, okay, while the experimenter watches. And the key thing here is they can't actually see the learner, but they just get a message saying, okay, shock this person now. The other thing is that they're told for each mistake, they're supposed to increase the voltage of the shock. So they start with something minor, and then with each mistake, they keep going and going and going. Now, there's no actual learner here. Um, they're told that there's another person, another participant of the study as the learner, but there's actually no one here. It's just a recording. But this is what they think is going on. And as they go up in voltage, the learner starts to, cry out in pain, tell them please stop, stuff like that. And the question is, are people still going to keep shocking them like the experimenter tells them to? Okay. Um, And it turns out actually about 65% of participants give the max shot. So even when the learners claiming, yelling out saying, please to stop, or at least that's what they think is going on, that's what they hear, um, about 65% still give the max shot. Okay, so thinking about it, is this study ethical? Well, yes and no. Um, Participants were deceived, which is not something we want to do if we can avoid it, but is sometimes something you need. So in this case, I would say there's no way around it. You kind of have to deceive them to run this. Um, it is certainly a stressful and upsetting procedure, but I don't know if you could ever make it a less upsetting procedure. Participants may have learned something disturbing about themselves. That's also not good, but I don't know, is there a way around it? Some positives of the Milgram study are that participants were immediately debriefed. So again, told exactly what was going on. You weren't shocking a real person. We were just looking at would you go along with it? It's not about memory and shocking. It's just to see if you would go along with it, and they get a detailed report. They did also check in with these people a year later and check in, see how they were doing, give them a medical exam, stuff like that. Surprisingly, most of the participants said they were glad they participated. They learned something of personal importance, and that the research topic is important. So it's kind of a tricky one because, and why we included it is that I mean it is definitely high risk. It definitely is going to cause some discomfort, some bad feelings. But is it worth it? I don't know. It's tough to say. Like we said, they did do some good things with the debriefing and then checking in on them a year later. But let's look at a replication that further improved these issues. So someone by the name of Berger did this study again um, more recently, and they actually screened potential participants and they checked did they have any um, mental illness problems, because they didn't want those people in the study because this would obviously be very disturbing to them, even more so than someone who doesn't have those problems. Another thing was that they were told 3 times throughout the study that they could withdraw. So they were reminded several times that they could withdraw from the study, which is good. Um, the debriefing was right away compared to the other study. So right after it ended, they told them what it was about. And then lastly, after they decided whether to continue at the max voltage, the experiment was stopped, regardless of their decision. Um, and they still get pretty similar numbers. They're off by about 10%, but it's pretty close. This is kind of an illustration of how you might kind of improve the ethics. And again, it's always important to consider, what is the payoff? Like, is it something worth doing or not? Need a second here.